This episode is brought to you by LifeLock. When you visit the doctor, you probably hand over your insurance, your ID, and contact details. It's just one of the many places that has your personal info. And if any of them accidentally expose it, you could be at risk for identity theft. LifeLock monitors millions of data points a second. If you become a victim, they'll fix it, guaranteed, or your money back. Save up to 40% your first year at lifelock.com/podcast. Terms apply.
Hi, this is Joe from Vanta. In today's digital world, compliance regulations are changing constantly, and earning customer trust has never mattered more. Vanta helps companies get compliant fast and stay secure with the most advanced AI, automation, and continuous monitoring out there. So whether you're a startup going for your first SOC 2 or ISO 27001, or a growing enterprise managing vendor risk, Vanta makes it quick, easy, and scalable. And I'm not just saying that because I work here. Get started at vanta.com.
So, Nikki, can I call you a vampire?
I mean, since we're friends.
Nikki Twilley is a reporter over at The New Yorker. She also hosts a podcast called Gastropod. So it makes sense that she likes to taste things, including blood, sort of. You've actually tasted synthetic blood?
Yes, I have chugged a shot of synthetic blood. I don't think you can call me a real vampire, only a fake vampire, which is a synthetic vampire.
Still a vampire.
If you will. Still a vampire, but an artificial one.
Nikki says this shot glass full of so-called blood looked like a raspberry smoothie, but had a salty tang and a fatty finish. She drank it in a lab that is racing to create a replacement for the actual human blood that gets extracted and infused right now. The Department of Defense has funded these scientists to the tune of $46 million. And their reason is simple. Actual human blood could save a lot of lives, but it's got downsides. First, there isn't enough of it. But also,
blood is alive, and so it takes very special conditions to keep it alive. And parts of blood, the platelets in blood, they have to be constantly agitated, like jiggled all the time to stay alive. So it's really kind of tough to supply blood. You have to type it. So we all know that we have blood types, and you can't put certain, you can't just give anyone anyone's blood without knowing their blood type. That's a holdup.
You have this estimate in your piece that I think if a NATO country went to war with Russia, folks think that they'd run out of blood in one day?
Yes. You can't really build up a gigantic store of blood because it doesn't last. It has a really short shelf life.
You also talk about how lots of people are dying right now. Like, plenty of people have traumatic injuries. It's hard to get blood to them because it needs to be stored so specifically. And so there are plenty of people here living everyday lives who just don't have access to this thing that we know could save them.
Absolutely. There's an estimate, a low ball of 30,000 preventable deaths each year just because people didn't get blood in time. If this synthetic blood substitute works, it could be absolutely game-changing because it can be freeze-dried, it can be reconstituted on demand, it's universal, so you can give it to anybody, and it could be, think of all those lives lost, just civilians, 30,000 people, all potentially preventable with this. Maybe that's worth $46 million.
Today on the show, why the race for a blood substitute is running hot. I'm Mary Harris. You're listening to What Next? Stick around.
At Blinds.com, it's not just about window treatments. It's about you, your style, your space, your way. Whether you DIY or want the pros to handle it all, you'll have the confidence of knowing it's done right.
From free expert design help to our 100% satisfaction guarantee, everything we do is made to fit your life and your windows. Because at Blinds.com, the only thing we treat better than windows is you.
Shop Blinds.com Labor Day Mega Sale happening now. Save up to 50% site-wide plus a free measure. Rules and restrictions may apply.
The 2024 election was a lot. And now that we're past it, you might be avoiding political news altogether. Or you might want to understand the other side of the aisle, but without poisoning your algorithm or treading into online territory that feels like an alien planet. You need Left, Right, and Center. It's your weekly political news check-in with representatives from both parties, so you can hear from the other guys in a way that helps you actually make sense of it. I'm David Green. Join me on Left, Right, and Center from KCRW. New episodes drop every Friday wherever you listen to podcasts.
Part of what I liked about your reporting on artificial blood is that you went really deep into the history. Like, you talked about how blood, even before we really knew what it was seen as this like essential life source. So can you just give some historical context to our understanding of blood?
Yeah, it took a long time for people to figure out what it was, but even before that, everyone thought of it as special. And you can see that in everything from religion, blood sacrifices, to gods, or, Jesus Christ's sacrifice of his own blood to save humanity. I mean, these are blood is the only thing that will sort of do to atone for some sins. This is why Christians, drink the blood of Christ. It's very, very important symbolic liquid, and it always has been. Virgil calls it the purple soul. There was this sense that if you were blood brothers, if you swore a blood oath, somehow that's more serious than anything else. So even before we had a clue that blood is essential to sustain life, there was this sense that it represented the very essence of a person and of a life.
And now that we do know about blood, it kind of seems even more magical. Like, you talk about how it's more like an organ than a liquid, which I hadn't really even conceived of blood that way. Can you just explain that?
Totally. I think, and Alan Doctor, who invented erythromer, said to me, listen, a lot of people think of blood as just like a bodily fluid, like sweat or urine or something. And it's not. It's alive. And it has all these functions in keeping you alive. I mean, the most obvious one is picking up oxygen in the lungs and releasing it throughout the body. And if it's not doing that, you have minutes to live. But it's also delivering nutrients, it's transporting hormones, it's getting rid of waste products, it's regulating body temperature and pH and overall fluid balance. It is monitoring everything, so it has an immune function, it's monitoring organ damage and inflammation, and it's also, it's the reason, this is probably not for air, but, it's the mechanism behind how tissues can get swollen. Let's put it that way.
Yeah. So back before we really knew all the things that made blood important, we were still trying to figure out how to use it, transfuse it, those sorts of things. But back then, it was a little bit different, right? The thought was like, maybe I can change your personality with blood.
Yeah, this is really interesting. So what happened was the Catholic Church kind of relaxed its rules on whether you could cut up bodies to learn about them. And pretty soon after that, people were cutting up bodies and finally figured out that blood is this liquid that the heart pumps around the body. And once they realized that, they thought, what if we add other things to this liquid? And maybe that'll supercharge it. So Christopher Wren, who is better known for being the architect behind St. Paul's Cathedral in London, he was like, great, I'm going to put all kinds of powerful additives in dog's blood and see what happens.
Like alcohol?
I mean, it's known to be a powerful liquid. Alcohol, opium, antimony, which was a very kind of mystical alchemical metal. He tried all of these things. The dogs vomited, passed out, died occasionally. I mean, it wasn't a era of great research ethics when it comes to that. What also people speculated about is transferring blood from one creature to another. And here's where that idea that blood carries the essence of your soul comes in, because, oh, wow, well, what if you could transfer a lion's blood into a sheep? Would that make the sheep ferocious? And conversely, what if you transferred, a calf, a gentle calf? What if you transferred the calf's blood into a madman? Would that calm him down?
Like a gentle cow? A baby cow?
Yes, a baby cow. Would it calm someone down? Would that infusion of kind of mild, gentle blood calm down the overheated blood of a madman?
I'm going to guess no.
Well, the good news is they actually tried that one. And I just want to say, some of these were really, you could switch blood between husbands and wives that weren't getting along, and that would kind of somehow bring about marital harmony. People thought you could transfuse blood from cheerful people into sad people and cheer them up.
When did we eventually realize, blood transfusions could be very useful, but not for these reasons of a personality transplant, but to actually prevent traumatic injury and death?
Yeah, so those first experiments were in the mid-1600s. It was more than a century later, in the 1800s, that an obstetrician performed the first successful human-to-human transfusion to deal with maternal hemorrhage. So the woman who had just given birth was bleeding out, and he took some blood from her husband, who was right there, and put it in her veins, and she survived. To be fair, in the early 1800s, we did not know anything about blood types, and so he tried this physician in London, James Mundell, he tried this on 10 women. 5 of them died, so those are not great odds. We also had no idea how to keep blood from clotting outside the body. I mean, that's what blood does. If your blood can't clot, you're a hemophiliac, and that's terrible. But it did make it hard to take blood out of a person, store it till you needed it, and then put it in someone else. So they just had to sort of connect a live person to another live person and kind of pump the blood across that way. So it was a very risky, very difficult procedure.
Yeah, you sort of lay out all of these steps along the way, figuring out if we put a little bit of this inside the blood, we can prevent the clotting. And that means that it can be taken out of the body for longer, and then figuring out that there are different blood types. And so you need to get the type that matches. And that's a way to make sure that the transfusion is likely to be more successful. Just, it felt like a constant learning process about blood to me.
Exactly. Everything we've wanted to do with blood has led us to learn a lot about it while we failed. I mean, I guess that's sort of science for you. You try and do something, it doesn't work, and then you have to figure out why. And that's basically how we've learned about blood. But yeah, blood types weren't discovered till 1900. The anti-clotting chemical wasn't discovered till 1910s. And then it wasn't until 1936 in the Spanish Civil War that a doctor figured out, if we keep blood cold, we can keep it alive for 5 days, 6 days, and that means we can drive it around in a van on a chest of ice. He was using milk bottles for his storage, so he had these milk bottles full of blood in coolers and drive them to the front line and save lives like that.
Yeah, and you also point out that blood is like a fish. like the fish that's sitting on ice for 5 days isn't as great as the fish that's been there for a day.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that either.
And actually, even the blood sort of shelf life guidelines that the American Red Cross uses right now, when you give older blood, it is actually less good. So it can even be within its sell-by date right now, and it might have, say, half the capacity to carry oxygen that it did when it was freshly extracted from someone.
Wow. So all of this kind of makes me realize obviously you would want an artificial version of this, a version that could last longer, that wouldn't need to be treated quite as gently as it needs to be treated now, or refrigerated, or any of that sort of stuff.
Right, and we just don't have enough of the real stuff either. That's the other big problem. People aren't donating, so we really don't have enough blood, period, right now already.
You tell this story in your piece, though, about how back in the 90s, there was an effort to test artificial blood. It got really far, and then it failed very dramatically. And so to me, it's like this cautionary tale of like, yes, of course, it makes a kind of sense to have artificial blood, but also making a good artificial blood is very hard. Can you just explain what happened there?
Yeah, so this came out actually really from the AIDS crisis because there was a big chunk of time in the early years of the AIDS crisis where there wasn't a test for HIV. And so the entire blood supply was potentially contaminated. And that really lit a fire under the artificial blood researchers. And their idea was, listen, the thing that carries oxygen in blood is this molecule called hemoglobin. It's the thing that makes red blood red. It's an iron kind of molecule and iron-rich protein. And it picks up oxygen in the lungs and it ferries it around and releases it in the body. And they thought, well, why don't we just isolate hemoglobin and we'll put that into people, inject it into their bloodstream, and it can carry oxygen around. Why fuss with all the rest of blood when we can just isolate hemoglobin and get it to do the job? And several major pharmaceutical companies developed products that did this, got to phase 3 clinical trials, which is you're injecting it in people who have suffered trauma. So it's being used in the, target market, as it were. That's the final hurdle before FDA approval. And those trials failed.
When you say failed, what happened?
People died is what happened. At least one researcher said to me those were the most lethal trials in clinical trial history.
After the break, why now? We are pretty close to having artificial blood that might keep people alive.
Hey, it's Ryan Reynolds here from Mint Mobile. Now, I was looking for fun ways to tell you that Mint's offer of unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month is back. So I thought it would be fun if we made $15 bills. But it turns out that's very illegal. So there goes my big idea for the commercial. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan equivalent to $15 per month required. New customer offer for first 3 months only. Speed slow after 35 gigabytes if network's busy. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
Let's play Burlington's Guess That Price. Back to school means back to saving. We're bringing you kids' jeans starting at, hold on a minute, just $11.99. Burlington's acing this test. What about character backpacks? We've got them starting at $12.99. Burlington's done it again. How about sneakers for the kids? A-plus brands and right on trend starting at $11.99. Saving is now in session. Burlington, deals, brands, wow!
Styles and selections vary by location.
Gatorade is the #1 proven electrolyte blend designed to hydrate better than water. So you can lose more sweat and raise your game. Gatorade, is it in you?
In her reporting for The New Yorker, Nikki Twilley looked at a couple of different blood substitutes that are in the pipeline. But the freeze-dried red blood cells she chugged in a lab, the ones that are totally synthetic, they're known as erythromer. And the guy who's making erythromer, his name is Dr. Alan Doctor. Yeah, his name, charmingly, is Dr. Doctor.
So Dr. Doctor started out as an intensive care pediatrician. He became a artificial blood developer kind of totally by accident when he got this call out of the blue from his colleague at Washington University at the time. And he's now been working on this for more than a decade. The research got a huge boost recently when DARPA, the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, gave a $46 million grant to move this forward. And what he's doing is he's combining erythromer, which is a synthetic red blood cell, with a synthetic platelet that's being developed out of the University of Pittsburgh, With freeze-dried plasma, because you can take human plasma and freeze-dry that, that's no problem.
So it's a little cocktail.
It's a little cocktail that, put it all together, it's going to be pretty close to whole blood. But, magically universal and freeze-dryable, and even a little souped up. So Dr. Doctor's red blood cell particle is actually slightly more effective than a human red blood cell at releasing oxygen. He's designed it it's like if you were an athlete, this is the doping version.
Huh. So you can get more oxygen to your cells.
Exactly. Get a little bit more bang for the buck, basically. And so where he's at is that he is currently testing this in animals, specifically rabbits. He drains half the blood out of these rabbits. It sounds terrible, but actually he has a very sort of as humane a setup as you can have. And then he replaces that lost half of their blood with his cocktail. And it's kind of astonishing to watch because really quickly, a rabbit that has lost half its blood is not happy. They are struggling to stay alive. That's a fatal injury if you do nothing. Within, 10 minutes of having their blood replaced with this cocktail, they're sniffing, their ears twitching, they start hopping around again. It's sort of astonishing, actually. It looks semi-miraculous.
How long does Dr. Doctor think it's going to take for him to be trying his cocktail in people?
There are a lot of hurdles to be cleared before that would happen. He's still in the middle of trialing this. You can't, I went and saw one pair of rabbits, but you can't do science on the basis of one pair of rabbits. You have to do a lot of these trials. So when I talk to Dr. Doctor, he's hesitant, like any good scientist, to say when, but there's no chance you could do all of that in under 7-8 years, even if you were moving really fast.
One thing that struck me about your reporting is the fact that, in theory, we could just get more people to donate blood, right? Couldn't we just invest a whole lot of money in getting more people to go to the Red Cross and just sit down and do what they needed to do versus making this complicated, expensive nanoparticle solution that in the end, we're not sure if it's even going to work?
You are 100% correct. There are two easy things we could do that would actually solve a lot of problems. And before I say what they are, I should back up and say, listen, if you're on a battlefield, this synthetic nanoparticle is going to be the way to go, always.
Just because it can go anywhere, it's preservable, essentially?
You freeze dry it and you rehydrate it on the battlefield with just your drinking water, and that's it. It works. Whereas right now, even in Ukraine right now, blood is a real crisis because you have to keep it cold, and aerial surveillance drones can see the generator that you're using to keep it cold, and they will bomb that. So the heat signature of the infrastructure to keep blood, even anywhere near the front lines, is making hospitals a target, and so they're not able to have blood. So for military purposes, the synthetic freeze-dryable blood is the way to go. But for everyone else, listen, if we just gave blood, more of us gave blood, and the other piece that really made me mad is that right now we know that even a 5-minute delay in giving someone blood reduces their chances of survival. It's like CPR. You wouldn't wait to start CPR until you got to the hospital. We all know you have to start it right away. Same with blood. You should give blood as soon as you can. Right now, in most of the U.S., blood is not given before the hospital because it can't be reimbursed. Not because we can't keep it. We could put a cooler in an ambulance. That'd be fine. It's because it cannot be reimbursed under our current system.
You mean because it'll just go bad at a certain point?
No, it's the billing system. It's the insurance companies. No one will reimburse for blood that is given before you get to the hospital.
That's crazy. You tell the story of a clinical trial where they did put blood on ambulances and got it to people before the hospital. And it showed a huge improvement in survival. And then as soon as the clinical trial was over, they had to take it out because there was no way to get it paid for.
Exactly. The surgeons who spoke to me about this, they called it criminal, and I think they're right. I mean, that is really wrong that we know how to save lives already, and we aren't doing it because it's not reimbursable.
Would the fake blood thing solve that problem?
I mean, the fake blood thing, it has to get approved first, then it needs a billing code. So so come back to me. How the insurance industry decides what is reimbursable, that's above my pay grade for sure. But yes, it did strike me as deeply ironic that we already have these solutions that could save lots and lots of lives if we simply gave more blood and figured out a way to make insurance companies pay for it on ambulances. We could be saving tens of thousands of lives already before we ever get a synthetic replacement.
Nikki, thank you so much for coming on the show. Really fascinating to hear from you.
Thank you for having me. It was a pleasure to talk about this.
Nikki Twilley is a contributing writer at The New Yorker and the host of Gastropod. And that's our show. What Next is produced by Paige Osburn, Elena Schwartz, Rob Gunther, Anna Phillips, Madeline Ducharme, and Ethan Oberman. Ben Richmond is the Senior Director of Podcast Operations here at Slate. And I'm Mary Harris. Go track me down on Blue Sky. I'm at Mary Harris. And thanks for listening. Catch you back here next time.
Starting a business can be overwhelming. You're juggling multiple roles: designer, marketer, logistics manager, all while bringing your vision to life. But for millions of businesses, Shopify is the ultimate partner. Shopify is the commerce platform behind millions of businesses around the world. And 10% of all e-commerce in the U.S. From household names like Mattel and Gymshark to brands just getting started. Build a stunning online store with Shopify's ready-to-use templates. Boost content with AI-powered product descriptions, page headlines, and enhanced photography. Marketing is easy with built-in tools for email and social media campaigns. Plus, Shopify simplifies everything from inventory to shipping and returns. If you're ready to sell, you're ready for Shopify. Turn your big business idea into with Shopify on your side. Sign up for your $1 per month trial today at shopify.com/try. Go to shopify.com/try. Shopify.com/try.